In a world of 3-second attention spans, the art of storytelling seems to be dying. But our guest today has spent his entire life keeping it alive. From covering breaking news to helping hospitals find their voice, he believes that utility and truth are the ultimate marketing strategies. Welcome back to the Adapt AI podcast spotlight series, where we shine a light on the inspiring stories and innovative strategies of the changemakers and disruptors shaping the future and growth of business. I'm your host, Haley. Our guest today is a 20-year journalist, a dean, and a professor, and now the founder of a content agency, My Mobile Life, Rick Hancock. Rick, welcome.
Oh, well, thank you very much for that kind introduction and the fact that you laid a foundation on storytelling. You hit it on the nose as it relates to me because I love telling stories. When I was a journalist, when I was an academic, and now as an entrepreneur, everybody loves a great story. So I love telling them.
Yeah, I think it's part of the human connection. That's why we're here and would love to highlight your story. So, just to get us started, take us back to the beginning. What made you leave the news desk to become an entrepreneur?
Well, it's a couple of reasons, but I grew up in an entrepreneurial house. My dad, who's still here, 94 years old, as my mom, 91. My dad was an entrepreneur. And so I saw that firsthand. He ran a graphic printing business, and we literally had printing presses in our basement. And so I would be down there at 7 years old, and it was the only time I was really allowed to get dirty because I could get my hands in the ink and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of cool. I
Yeah.
didn't want to follow in his footsteps in exactly what he was doing, but I always knew that eventually I was going to have my own business.
That seems to be interesting. And you have loved, for sure, the storytelling factor of it, as we, initially
Yeah.
already highlight as a journalist. You spent 20 years in newspapers, radio, and TV before starting your business. So, how has that journalist DNA given My Mobile Life an unfair advantage
Oh
over
yeah. Well,
traditional ad agencies?
well, I think we do have an advantage because my co-founder, Michael Grillo, is also a former journalist. We met in the newsroom and we hit it off. And so we decided that we wanted to take advantage. We're going on 15, 20 years ago when traditional media was transforming into digital media and how people were consuming news changed. Thus, the name of our company is My Mobile Life. Why did we call it My Mobile Life? Well, the way people were consuming news and information 15 years ago,
Hmm.
Mike was working for me, and every month he would give me monthly reports on where our readerships were coming from on the digital platforms.
Hmm.
And it was blowing my mind because you got to remember 15 years ago, the iPhone wasn't even a thing yet. So we're
Yeah.
seeing all this data coming that people are reading our news content on their phones, flip
Hmm.
phones. They had no digital interfaces, Blackberries, and I couldn't wrap my head around that initially. Like, why are people reading on this lousy experience? And then we finally realized that people wanted news where they were, wherever they were, and they wanted the
Mm.
news. And so the packaging of it wasn't the primary thing. Newspapers, they spend a lot of time meticulously laying out the front page, and television, you want the scene set right, and radio, you want to have a lot of ambient noise. So the sensories are real important. But
Yeah.
in digital, it's the access, your phones, the Internet of Things. People can get information off their thermostats and their refrigerators and things like that.
Right.
So we decided we wanted to create a company that talked to that mobile lifestyle, and
Mm.
so we would create content that would render well on any platform, whether it was in the newspaper, television, radio, your watch, your iPhone, your tablet, or wherever you were. We wanted to create content and tell stories where people were in this mobile lifestyle that we all now are continuing to live in, especially in the day and age of AI. It's
Yeah,
amplified
absolutely. And we'll talk more about that. Now, just with the content itself, talk us through your first few projects with My Mobile Life. What kind of work did you do for and which industries?
Well, it was a couple because of my journalism background. I was fortunate enough to have many contacts in the media. Fact, was actually working for one of my former bosses who had moved on to become the president of a TV station in New York. And so he brought me on board again. This is 15 years ago. And a lot of his folks in the newsroom were struggling, trying to figure out the digital landscape of social media and how that integrated with the normal old fashioned way of news gathering.
Yeah.
So I came in and did a consulting stint with them for a year and training their staff
Hmm.
on how to use social media, how to integrate that into their storytelling when they were out there in the field uh,
Hmm.
reporting. But one of our first clients, though, aside from that, was a company called freebirthdaystuff.com. It was a website, as the name implies, that
Mm.
on your birthday, you got free stuff. And so she just cataloged a lot of different things of companies that were offering free things. I don't think she does the website anymore. I
Hmm.
think she let it go a couple of years ago, but it was a fun little project to work on to try to tell the story of how she would try to, get in front of people and let people know that on your birthday it's a special day, but on this special day you can also get a lot of free stuff. So that was a fun project to work on. And I will also say, and this, some in your audience may appreciate this, and others
Mm.
don't. I don't have a lot of bad vices in life, but I like smoking cigars. And so when I moved and started the company here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I live in North Georgia, so it's north of the city. I would drive into the city every day, and I would try to get business, and I was going to all these meetings and workshops, and the doors were getting slammed. They were getting slammed in our faces. A little bit of the outsider syndrome. They didn't want this new guy coming in. They didn't know who I
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
So I would drive the 26 miles back to my house, and I would go to my little neighborhood cigar lounge. And I would just sit there and just like, oh man, I gotta get some business. We got to make some money.
Mm.
And other guys would come in, and smoking cigars is not an inexpensive hobby. So you have affluent people who are coming in there, people who own businesses or top executives in companies,
Yeah.
and they would just and it doesn't matter your background when you smoke cigars. You enjoy the leaf. You're a brother and sister of the leaf.
Mm.
So just conversations would organically begin. You start hearing about what people did for a living, then you
Hmm.
start hearing what uh, problems and challenges they were having. And I just
Hmm.
started listening and said, well, yeah, our website's broken. We don't know anything about this social media stuff. And we want to improve our email marketing. And I just
Hmm.
started listening. At first I didn't pick up the cue. But then I was
Hmm.
like, these guys are talking about their problems. And as an entrepreneur, that's what you want to do. You want to solve
Yeah.
people's problems. And
Right.
I started listening to their problems and started saying, hey, well, we could do that, or give us a chance doing that. And in fact, the owner of that particular cigar lounge was having a big cigar festival. He wanted me to build a new website to promote the cigar festival and then work on his existing company website. And he had a construction company. He wanted me to work on that website. So that was being validated by someone that everyone knew, and then we started picking up some business. In fact, one of my longest, we still have a client from those early days.
Wow.
He has executive office buildings that's where my office is physically located, and he's been a client of ours for 13 years now. So because he had a problem, he was he's there's a lot of chains out there that do these executive office type of relationships, and he's more of an independent. So we kind of came up with some unique strategies to connect him to the audiences that he wanted to reach, so they would come in and book rooms and events at his location.
Not not everyone can, highlight that kind of success stories to be able to retain a client for over a
Hmm.
decade. So
Yeah,
I
we have
must.
a few of them. We have a few of them actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah,
What
we have a
is
few of
there
them.
something in common that you noticed with these existing clients of yours that have been with you for a long time? Like, what are the common problems that you started helping them with and then evolved into other solutions that you were able to provide for them?
Yeah, yeah, great question. It all starts with relationships and building relationships, and we've lost clients as well. So I don't want to pretend that it's been all
Hmm.
milk and honey, but
Hmm.
build trust, relationships, and there's a saying. I don't know if you're a hockey fan. Wayne Gretzky was famous for saying, don't skate where the puck is, skate where it's going to be. So try to anticipate trends, try to anticipate where the new opportunities are. We provide every month for all of our clients a digital report for all, whether, if we're doing website maintenance, so we look at their web stats, we look at their SEO traffic, look at all these data points. And now with AI, we look at those even more intently.
Hmm.
And that tells a story. Again, going back to story, the
Yes.
data is telling a story of this did well, this didn't do well. We should do more of this. Maybe we should do less of this, or look at this further if we should continue doing that.
Hmm.
So, really getting in front of the information, having a vision, having knowing as much as you can about your not only your clients but your clients' customers and your clients' customers' competition. Looking at those, that there's a lot of open source data that you can kind of examine what people are doing. You can look at their social media profiles.
Hmm.
So we took our journalistic instincts of reporting, news gathering, seeking out facts, and apply it. We set up all of our to this day. We still set up all of our clients on editorial calendars. That's something that we do in the newsroom of like information comes in, we organize it, we placehold it, and we decide what we're going to do. Working with our clients, obviously, but
Hmm.
we every single one of them has an editorial calendar that they can access and look at, and we can storyboard. And when we meet, we can figure out what we want to do next.
I think that's one of like human elements that cannot be replaced by AI, or you can leverage AI to train in telling a story. But just speaking about or talking about storytelling, uh, I'm aware that my mobile life, you've worked with highly regulated industries like banking and healthcare. So, most creative agencies run away from that. How do you find a compelling story in that kind of B2B industry that may seem boring or strict or stern or something?
Well, if someone's in business, there's an audience for it. So the beauty of and this transition, I'm old enough to remember mass media, where I use the analogy if a billboard on a highway, they need millions of people to go by that billboard. So that's the equivalent of digital impressions. But how
Mhm.
many people are actually going to turn and look at that billboard? And then how many people are going to turn, look at that billboard and say, hey, I need that service? That's mass media. So you're serving a large population, hoping to find a few. In digital, it brought the niche into where you could target your audience.
Right.
And one of the things we learned very early on is that you don't need a large audience to make an
Mhm.
impact. You don't need a large audience to make some money. You just need to be able to target those people that need that particular service.
Mhm.
So we were working with IBM, which is a large international company.
Mhm.
However, the department that we were working with was the department that handled the reclamation and recycling of old hardware when IBM was really in the business of providing hardware and computers.
Mhm.
So when they would, enterprise those out to companies in the thousands, tens of thousands, after a period of time, they would have to replace them. So what do you do with these older computers? Well, they
Right.
had a department. They had a department for that. Clearly, it wasn't the most sexiest department or thing that IBM was doing. They've been working on machine learning forever and
Yeah.
all this technology and Watson. So the person who was the chief marketing officer there couldn't get any resources from the higher ups to place any focus or emphasis on what they were doing, although she felt it was very, very important to do.
Mhm.
Um, she just couldn't get the institutional resources to do a big marketing plan.
Mhm.
So she had within her budget money. So she, through relationships, told somebody who knew me that she was looking for somebody who could kind of help and strategize and help support her. And
Mhm.
so um, here was a, a product or a service that wasn't well received internally, didn't get a lot of respect,
Mhm.
but it had all these businesses needed assistance to get rid of these computers. And so if how did they do that? How could they do that? So IBM provided this service But a lot of people didn't know that. A lot of times people are just throwing their computers out, throwing them in landfills, not
Mhm.
recycling them. And so we created an awareness program for that. That not only is this the environmentally right thing to do, um, you could get in a lot of trouble by just dumping computers into a landfill. So that was one thing. On the other, like, highly regulated businesses, you just have to be super, super, super aware of what you can and cannot do.
Mhm.
Um, and again, it's even more highlighted in this day and age of AI, because it's not only these regulated industries, it's also just how where does your information go when you have someone in your staff, chatting with ChatGPT and putting sensitive information, like
Right.
where does it go? And what happens to that after that? So that's on the forefront of not even highly regulated industries. That's on the forefront of a lot of people's minds about, where's my data going? So that's why a lot of
Mhm.
people, I know we're not really segueing yet into AI, but that's why a lot of people are creating their own closed AI platforms, brags, and where they're pulling from their data and then using the computation power of AI to process that. But it's siloed. It's not going out into the world. You and I would never be able to get access to that and have it generate stuff that we would want to use while we're using AI.
Well, speaking of now AI, since you
Yeah.
mentioned that already, you also mentioned in our previous conversation that the McKinseys and Deloittes of the world are handling AI for the Fortune 500. And why is the missing middle, the SMBs, at the greatest risk of being left behind right now, especially as we're heading?
Yeah. A couple of reasons I can touch on.
Mhm.
First of all, those big enterprise companies have money where they can afford to make mistakes, and it's not
Mhm.
going to kill them. Where small and medium sized businesses, any investment is an important investment, and you want to make sure you get a return on the investment on any dollars that you spend. And I'm not saying that AI is expensive to do a AI readiness assessment or anything like that, but I think that the reason that they haven't adopted it as quickly is because, just like all small businesses, you want to focus on your business. We saw that in marketing, in digital marketing. It was always, we know we need it, we don't have the time to do it, or I don't have the time to do it, and I don't really want to pay for digital marketing, even though I know I did it. So they'll try to do it themselves. AI is kind of like that, but it's changing because the impact and the rate of new technologies and new solutions that are coming out are impacting businesses much faster than that transition when I was talking about going from mass media to TV stations not really knowing how to do social media. If a TV
Mhm.
station didn't get on Facebook, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. If
Right.
businesses today don't start gauging AI, it's going to be the worst thing in the world. They won't be in business in 5 years if they don't start at least understanding where they are as a company. That's the first
Mhm.
thing. If in AI consultation, it's not holding up the new shiny tool. Oh, here's a new thing that came out. You need to plug this into your business.
Mhm.
That's a mistake, and that's why AI gets a bad rap, that it's not working in some cases, because people will try something and it doesn't work. Well, it didn't work. It's because you didn't do a whole total uh, business autopsy, if you will, on where you are as a company, what are your
Mhm.
goals, what are your objectives as a business. Then find out where all your assets are, because if nothing else, AI needs data. And so where's all your data warehouse? How are you keeping it? How is it labeled? And
Mhm.
then you can start looking into where you are in the AI roadmap. And
Mhm.
then you can do assessments and figure out where you are, where you can improve, what tools might be appropriate for
Yeah.
what you're doing. And sometimes you don't even need AI. Sometimes it's just automation. Sometimes you just need a CRM. Sometimes you
Mhm.
just need, some Google Sheets or
Right.
spreadsheets to
Yeah.
get you to where you want to be. So AI is important. It's not everything. Not every business needs a full installment of a full suite of AI tools. Sometimes it's just something simple like a customer service chatbot on your website. That might be all you
Yeah.
need at this particular moment.
Yeah. And just going back to what you said earlier, some of these businesses who already feel, the impact of or the possible impact that AI would have on their business, they are kind of like aware that they would need to leverage AI at one point or another, or maybe not just like simple automations, which still can be done through AI powered solutions. But they feel that they don't have the time. Is that just like a human nature, like fear
Yeah.
of change, do you think?
Yeah, you beat me to the word because change is the most difficult thing. If I can plug, I've written two books, AI books. The AI
Mm,
dictionary. I wrote the AI dictionary when I first started learning about AI because there were so many words and phrases and definitions I didn't know anything about, and I wanted to educate myself.
right.
And the second book was the Invisible Chief AI Officer,
Hmm.
and the foundation of both books is something that I learned uh, in my news management days pertaining to change. Yeah, human nature, we're resistant to change. One of the things, I'm not saying it's the only thing, but one of the things, one of the most important things when it comes to change is you have to get your organization understanding the words and the phrasing that you're using to talk about change.
Mm,
Digital first, you've heard that phrase before. Digital first. We're going to be a digital first news operation.
mm,
Well, when that first came out, digital first to someone who'd been in the newspaper business 40 years
yeah,
versus a young college graduate coming out and
yeah.
you use the term digital first means two totally different things. But
Mm,
they both could be sitting in the same meeting. And so
mm,
if you're the leader talking about digital first
mm,
without clearly giving a definition of what that means, the
mm,
process and the systems,
mm,
both sides are going to be lost. And that's going to compound the resistance to change. I don't want to do this, and then I don't even understand what they're trying to get me to do.
right.
So change is no matter what the technology is, no matter what the era, change management is critical to address. Again, going back to AI, the speed and acceleration of it is like people will feel lost. Like
Mhm.
everything's moving so fast, and I don't understand what a chat GPT is versus a VO3 or all
Yeah.
these other terms and acronyms and all hallucinations. And so it's important. And for what we do in the AI space, we don't really spend a lot of time. Me and my business partner are, well versed in the tools out there and can play around with them. But that's not our focus. Our focus is having people take a step back to
Yeah.
take a step forward
Mhm.
and take AI out of the equation and just do a overall analysis of where you are
Mhm.
and then start layering over process systems, opportunities for AI before again you talk about a tool.
Mhm.
That helps internally on the change part because they can see the progression of they understand where they are. We're giving them a roadmap of their assessment of their opportunities to move into AI. Then
Mm.
they see the potential roadmap of implementation strategies,
Mhm.
and then so you can help. But that being said, I'm not going to pretend it's still a very difficult challenge getting buy-in
Mhm.
from everybody in the organization, and obviously the larger organization, the more difficult. The CEO wants change. I want all the shiny tools. I want all this to happen, and he
Right.
tells everybody that's what he wants. But then you have to filter that down to the lower levels, and that's what the bottlenecks.
So there has to be a buy-in, a synchronized buy-in by all like stakeholders from the bottom up, you know. And you're right about, one person having a different perception or understanding of of a term to another person. So putting a context around that before implementing change is critical, as you mentioned. Which leads me to this project that you've been working on, and a recent launch of a platform called OneClick, which is an AI readiness assessment. Can you walk us through the three P's you measure and how it helps and
Yeah,
could be helping, businesses? Um,
yeah, we're very, very. Thank you for bringing that up. But we're very, very proud of that. That's probably we've been developing software and applications for clients that need them over the years. But OneClick came about because when we decided to uh, get more in depth in AI, we went and got certified, my business partner and I. And that was great because it was opening up a lot of opportunities, and obviously everybody needs AI. And so the consulting field for us, was opening up. However, but I also started to see after we got certified, and I would hang out in the online chat rooms for AI non-technical AI certified consultants. So let me make that distinction.
Mm-hmm.
That while the AI gave you the opportunity to vibe code and build things,
Mm-hmm.
you don't you don't want anything that I built. You really, I mean, I barely use the things that I built, so it really wasn't going to be enterprise grade for businesses to actually use and deploy in it. And that frustration I saw with other consultants. The other thing we saw is that on the implementation side, that consultants, they may have had other business coaching consultancies or some other type of consultancies. So they know how to get business. They know how to talk to people. They know how to open doors. They
Mm-hmm.
probably know how to do a AI readiness assessment. But when it got to the point of implementation, they were losing deals. Why? Because those companies were like, hey, this is great. This is a great strategy. We like it. Now do it. And they couldn't do it because they didn't have the technical expertise to do that. So those two things got me to thinking, and
Mm-hmm.
Mike Grillo, my business partner, to thinking, what if we turned around, instead of us providing the primary consulting services to businesses,
Yeah.
why don't we service the service providers? Because there really weren't any tools out there for AI consultants to, they could use ChatGPT here, they could use Claude here, they could use Gemini here, they would
Mm-hmm.
use spreadsheets. And so it was a very time consuming process. So here you have AI consultants who are trying to tout the benefits of AI, and they didn't really have any great tools at their disposal in a box. So we created a brain in a box. We call it a brain in a box, servicing service providers, um, where we have a state of the art AI readiness tool where it's broken down into four. You can do AI assessments instead of just doing a global AI assessment for a business. You can do it on the company head, department, team level, and individuals.
Mm-hmm.
50 to 60 questions each. It's voice enabled where the questions can be read to the respondent and the respondent can speak them back, which then accelerates for the AI consultant how many they can do.
Right.
Because in the good old days of 6 months ago, it could take you 2, 3 weeks to do one assessment for a mid-sized business, where you had to go in, get the interviews, then get all the data, compile it, construct it, write it, put it
Mm-hmm.
together, put the roadmap together, grade them, uh, put tool suggestions, and then do a presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with our tool, we're happy to say consultants could do 2 or 3 a day, and just from the perspective of you can charge just on a small company to do an AI readiness assessment anywhere from $2,500 to $25,000 for just to do an AI readiness assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So just think about if you could do 2 or 3 of those a day, as opposed to doing one in a couple of weeks. So we also, the other thing that we see is it's the step before the AI readiness assessment. So the AI readiness assessment is for business, but you need to prepare to talk to that industry. So we've created 40 industry packs where we've done a deep dive for the 40 top industries in the world, where an AI consultant can study, look at the pain points, AI opportunities, how to write a proposal, what to price it. And it's a whole industry pack that is included in the vault, in the platform. So the AI consultant can be even more prepared to go out there and talk to and solicit businesses. So we're very, and then the last thing, it's not in place yet, but early next year, early first quarter, we also created a marketplace, and that was to address that concern for those non-technical AI consultants who could get in front of people, talk to them, but couldn't do the implementation. So we're going to have, just like the Apple App Store, we're going to have a whole bunch of different apps in there that customers can look at, can test, can try, we can also build out if they need something more customized. So that's OC. We're very excited. I'm talking to people every day. We actually had a couple of sales from our launch, and so we're really excited. We're trying to get our first 100 subscribers by February 2nd. As founding members, we're offering very, very attractive
Mhm.
prices for our first 100 founding members. But even after that, we think it's a very affordable platform for all kind of consultants, specifically AI consultants, and really targeting the non-technical AI consultants.
That's, a brilliant, just going back to what you said earlier about gathering data for these consultants, AI consultants who are probably manually still, even though they're servicing or they're, putting the word out about AI there, there's still like manual process involved 6 months
Yeah,
ago. Whereas
yeah,
that was the opportunity you saw that you can help them with, these service providers who would just have to get into your platform. The questions are already available for them to leverage different industries, 40, as you said, top industries. And from there, be able to gather data quicker, much quicker, and at a better volume so that
yes, yeah,
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 and then they could
yeah. That's
provide solutions as well. That's very, very exciting. And what would you say would be like, is it something that even businesses who may be interested, like small businesses,
yeah,
can get access,
most definitely.
even if they're not
Yeah.
AI consultants?
So most definitely, and I bury the lead. That's something we used to say in journalism. So what's driving the whole platform is our OC chat, and we have trained OC to be your one your chief AI officer in a box. And so even before you do go to the vault with the industry analysis, even before you go to the AI readiness assessments, you can have a conversation. You can literally put your laptop on in a meeting. Most companies have a CEO, a CMO, a CFO. A lot of companies don't have yet a chief AI officer, a CAIO.
Hmm.
And if you go on LinkedIn, which I do every day, multiple times a day, and you look at jobs for CAIOs, some companies are offering salaries of up to $500,000 to bring that level of expertise in house because they need it. Not on what tools we should use, but governance, the questions that you asked me about before about
Mhm.
data security. There's a whole parlance of things that a chief AI officer is responsible for. Well, we've trained our OC to be that co-pilot for businesses. And so, yes, that would be the tool and the feature that businesses would use every single day. Because on top of that, while you're getting all of our institutional knowledge that we've dumped in, that we know, and every day we're updating information as it relates to the whole AI space,
Mhm.
we've you also have the ability to upload your institutional data about your business. And we've also included aspects of our digital marketing. 13 years, 14 years of digital marketing is also loaded in there as well to help them communicate their planning. So they take the information from the AI readiness assessment, they take the information they've gathered from the vault, they can throw that back into OC, the chat, and again, using the voice feature and just have a conversation and get this information packaged up. Might want to do a PowerPoint, do an executive summary, however, and it just has a huge, 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 huge amount of data related specifically to AI leadership in a business.
So it's interesting to, have all these um, capacities at the fingertips of anyone who may be interested in being able to service people who or businesses who might not even think about leveraging AI or how it can even help them. First is the
Yeah,
assessment. I totally agree with that path. Being able to audit where you're at in your business, do you even need it? And not just, test out different tools without understanding what do you really need? What kind of solution do you
yeah,
really
yeah.
need? And it
And
seems that
you'd be surprised how many people that they do that they do that, A, because they've been sold on it. If they're on any social media just trying to figure out AI, they see, get this and this will solve all your problems, especially in the areas of sales. So
Mhm.
many people out there selling sale AI sales tools.
Mhm.
Some are actually pretty good. Some are so complex. I was looking at somebody offering a AI sales solution. I was like,
Mhm.
man, this is more complex than if you're trying to do it yourself. And you need to have some technical expertise just to deploy it and install it. So, yeah, not having that. So if you don't have anybody on your team that could do that, then that'd be a waste of time to getting that. But if you have somebody on your team, that might be a great solution for you. But you won't know until you go through that process.
So, do you think that if someone doesn't have, if a business like a small or medium-sized business doesn't have a specific person like a chief AI officer yet, how how easy is it to navigate OneClick in order to do the assessment? Or is that something that you can also like act as a consultant for them to guide them
If
through the app
if
or
if if they want, I think the assessment tool is really going to be a feature that a lot of consultants will use on a regular basis. I don't foresee a lot of businesses after they get their initial assessment going in there and using it on a regular basis unless they're introducing a new product or they want to do a semi-annual or annual review of where they are. That'd be useful. Um,
Mhm.
the platform is very easy to navigate. It's very intuitive. It has a chat interface very similar to what you see in ChatGPT and Gemini and all the others. So you can type in your prompts. We have a whole prompt library to help get you kick-started as well. We have tons of prompts in there to help you get on your journey. Um, so it's pretty intuitive if you've been on any kind of AI platform. Although we can't assume that. I've talked to people recently who they still have not been on ChatGPT, which totally blows my mind that some people still have not touched ChatGPT, but
Yeah.
they're out there. But a business, even if they're a little skittish, have probably been playing around with it because a lot of people, AI, ChatGPT generically, they're using it like a Google search engine. That's how they treat it. They don't always understand the power of AI, giving it a persona, act as this, and then this is what I want, and here's information, and have a conversation and iterate your prompts until you get what you want, and it starts to learn you. It starts to learn what your mannerisms, your language, your business, and it just improves. But if you're just putting in simple search queries, you're not going to get anything. If you want a simple rewrite, everybody's used ChatGPT to write something.
Mhm.
Maybe it doesn't come across well, maybe it doesn't sound like you, maybe it has a lot of M dashes, whatever the issues are. But you need to keep going and refine it, and talk to it, play with it, add more context to it. But for the businesses, OneClick is a platform that's very, very easy for people to get in and understand as it relates to their business, and they have the ability to upload information that they want. And it's a secure platform. We adhere to the highest privacy and security standards. But again, if a business has high proprietary information, I think twice about whatever you put out there because it's a machine, and so we protect your privacy. We're not selling your data. We're not marketing your information to anybody else. We would propose if your data is that sensitive, we would propose warehousing that in a separate case, separate cloud, and then when you need to access that information specifically, it would be brought in there. So those are the conversations you want to have with businesses. Most small and medium sized businesses, well, small business, the mom and pop shops. The
Mhm.
definition we talk about SMBs.
Mhm.
A lot of SMB from the U.S. government, designation is a company making $50 million to $200 million a year. That's still considered a small, medium-sized business.
Right.
Most businesses, if small businesses that a lot of people that we've dealt with in the past, if they're making $100,000 to $200,000 a year off their business, that's a lot. So um, they're cigar lounges, retail shops, hair salons, and things along those lines. Some lawyers, or not lawyers per se, but accountants and those service type of businesses, um, who wear multiple hats. And if this would be a great tool for them because, like I said, you literally could put the laptop in your meeting, and have the voice activation on and say, hey, we want to bring AI into the business. We have concerns about privacy as it relates to this particular service that we offer. What advice or feedback can you give us? And you'll get that response.
That's brilliant. I think data privacy is also something still to be considered, especially how, people who may not be aware using ChatGPT, Gemini, and other AI tools out there, um, not understanding also the risk of sharing certain information using those AI tools. Now, with that being said, are you still in the academe, Rick, as well, or just
No, well, not formally, not formally, and I do miss it. But I did start two AI courses. One part of my story is that I told you as a child I always wanted to have a business, but went into I was in corporate America for a minute. I was in government for a minute, then I went into my journalism career in academia. Um, I do miss teaching. I didn't like being a dean as much because that's the administrative side of the world, and
right?
I need to be out there in those streets. So being a professor allowed me to really kind of that was more my element. However, I didn't start my business till I was 50, and so I think that especially in the day and age of AI, us old folks can flourish in AI because AI needs data, needs experience, and you can create so many opportunities for yourself. And ageism is a real thing. You get to a certain point, people don't want to hire you. That's always been the case. But in AI, we're downsizing. Even young people are having a hard time finding jobs now, but especially people 45, 50. If they lose their job, it's taking them years. Literally, I have friends of 2 years, they've been on the beach looking for work. And I saw that and I was hearing the stories. A lot of the opportunities that people had before, if they got laid off from the work or needed to supplement their income after they retired, they don't exist. There are a lot of people who go work at Walmart or Target or some of these, retail. Those Walgreens, I was in there yesterday. There's nobody there. There's literally nobody working at Walgreens. It's all automated. You just go in and scan what you want to do. There's like nobody in there. So I created two courses this past year. Was the first one was navigating entrepreneurship after 50, and then we got great response, and it was a recorded course. And if
Mhm.
people wanted to buy extra services and my personal coaching, that they did that. But it was a 30 days. 30 days, we gave you the roadmap if you wanted to take an idea, a side hustle to launch something using AI tools. And
Mhm.
then most recently, I created another course because we found some people still, even though I love entrepreneurship, I love I think it's great. Not everybody wanted to start a business, right? So, but they wanted to learn more about AI. So I started another course. This was live, navigating AI after 50. And it was basic, entry level learning the interface of Chat GPT. Now, some people just use the chat bot and they don't know it has different models, it has different things on the side. You can do custom GPTs where you can upload stuff, where you can do connections. And so we did a lot of those things and some simple tools, video and image generation kind of stuff, and just rewriting stuff. It was during the beginning of the holiday season. I said, people have recipes, handwritten recipes that have been handed down over, generations, and they're probably yellowing it because they were, in books. And I said, all you do is take a picture of it, take a picture of those recipes, those handwritten recipes, upload it to ChatGPT. It will decipher it. It will clean it up. It will even give you recipe suggestions, on that kind of stuff. So people, tapping into what people know is always easier to teach people what they need to know. And so that's the closest I've gotten to teaching lately, but I do enjoy sharing knowledge with other people.
I think, that's your core because you are a storyteller after all. At the core of like whichever hat you put on and take on in the future, the storytelling core is still there within you, Rick. So, final question. If you are teaching a class on AI for business, what would be the first foundational assignment that you would give your students?
Yeah, it would have nothing to do with AI. It would what we talked about before, and you're spot on. Understanding change in your organization, like just understanding what the impact of what change is going to have on your organization. Once you understand that, and that doesn't mean everybody's going to agree, but you need to know how to navigate that change that you're about to bring about, um, to get the buy-in, because without that, it's not going to be successful. You can have the most successful plan or most well laid out plan, but if you don't have
Mhm.
the understanding, and people don't understand what you mean by when you say this phrase or this word, or what the expectations or what the goals. So that's the change. So just understanding, managing change, and then almost starting at the end. What's the goal? Like, what's our goal? Is it to improve our ROI? Is it to reduce our workforce or increase our workforce? So what are your goals? And then we'll circle back to, okay, now let's do an overall analysis. We understand what change is going to be. We understand what our goals are going to be. Where are we currently situated as a business to achieve those? And if we're not, what can we implement into the business? It could be automation, it could be AI, it could be a combination, or it might not be anything. So now we haven't gotten to true AI and the implementation. Then once you get to the AI readiness assessment, that will begin your journey of what potential tools that you might need. But my conversation and my conversations, as I speak, as I write, I'm fairly prolific on LinkedIn. I write a lot about this very thing, about AI leadership. Isn't about the shiny tool. It's about the shiny strategy. That's what you need to focus on.
And I absolutely love that as well, because there's still always that human connection factor, despite of all these new technologies that keep coming up as we head to 2026. Now, probably final question, Rick, if you can indulge
No
us.
problem. Yeah, no problem.
Um, so as we move to the next era of business, what is, apart from, having the foundational vision, your North Star when it comes to business, and also understanding what kind of change needs to be implemented and creating that awareness about that change that needs to happen, making sure that everyone involved are in sync or have that, deeper understanding of what that means or what that looks like. What is that human skill that you think is still cannot be replaceable by technology and AI?
Yeah, your own personal story. Go back to storytelling. I mean, your story is the most important thing. Because again, if we apply it to AI and not apply it to AI, your story. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story.
Mm.
And it could be a personal story, it could be a professional story, it could be a family story, it could be, where you came from. So I think starting from that perspective, and be passionate about something. I I believe passion, profits follow passion. However, everything you're passionate about doesn't mean you're going to be good at. As a kid growing up, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I wasn't good enough to be a professional baseball player. I was passionate about it. I loved the game. I was good, but I wasn't professional good. So does that make me a failure? No. That just made me realize that I needed to deploy other things that I was passionate about that I actually happen to be good at. And so finding that fit, finding in case of business, since we're talking about business, finding that founder fit. Some people, you can make a ton of money off of real estate, but if you hate dealing with people and walking into houses, that's going to be a waste of time. Some people, lawyers make a ton of money, but if you hate going into courthouses or looking at records all the time, that's not for you. So you need to find the right fit for you
Mm.
to then accelerate what you want to do. And then don't be afraid to become that key person of influence. Don't be afraid to be that person that's going to not have the light shine on them. You're the light shining on other people, and helping them grow and flourish in what they want to do. And if you can accomplish those things, whether it's 2026 or 10 years down the road, I think you'll be successful.
What a masterclass, Rick. That just reminds me of something I just saw on Instagram earlier, that someone who is brilliant, someone who has that shining light in them, doesn't heal another person to move them away from darkness, but through their own light reminding the other person of their own,
Yep.
the light that they have
Powerful.
within. I think that's what you've done for all of us. And through this podcast episode, that's a wrap. Rick Hancock, a founder who proves that whether you are writing a news article or a marketing campaign or, finding out whether you're ready for AI, a good storytelling core strategy is always the key. Rick, thank you for being here. We'll also have Rick's contact links and also the books if you're interested in getting your hands on that in the show notes. If this conversation helped you think differently about your business, the best way to support the show is to do two things. One, share this episode with one colleague or a friend. And number two, hit subscribe right now so you'll never miss an episode. Thank you again, Rick. Any final words
Thank
for
you. Well, thank you very much. I hope people did get something out of that. And, if you ever want to have me back, please invite me again. I'll be more than happy to show up.
We'd love to have you back again. See you on the next one.
Okay. Take care.